Thank you, Andy, for the introduction. Yeah, I have done this. I have spoke at 5 things before, and I spoke about tiny habits before, but this is different in a couple of ways. One is, as I mentioned earlier to Scott, I think a book can reveal its gifts and the gold over time, and that's been true of tiny habits with me. And it genuinely is something that the more I go back to it, the more I internalize what's in the book and apply it in my own life. That's one thing. The other thing I wanted to do was I want to cover some stuff a little bit more deeply than I may have touched on the first time around, but this is the stuff that's really changed everything for me. From this point of view, that I never really understood how human behavior worked. And I was I worked for decades. I was an advertising copywriter and a creative and a consultant in social media, and sort of making it up as I went along and kind of figuring it out on the job how human behavior worked. And I'm going to explain to you why tiny habits help me understand human behavior. And I think this is crucial. And so I'll get on with it in a second. And just final thing I want to say was this: that the second half of this morning, we've got half an hour or so here. The second half will be classic 5 things, the content. But I really thought it important, and I wanted to quite openly spend the first bit just talk about the context in which I discovered tiny habits and why it became such a big deal for me. And the reason to do that is that, like I'm sure a lot of people on this call, you know, my professional life and personal life, it's up and down all the time, all over the shop sometimes. And sometimes it's sweet and it sings, and other times it's a bit of a challenge. So I want to give you a bit of the context of why tiny habits was such an important discovery in my life. So yeah, no one ever told me how human behavior works. I don't know if they ever told you. I mean, you know, I hear lots of people banging on about behavioral science and 140 cognitive biases and heuristics and how to use that as a model for understanding human behavior. And I, in fact, in my advertising days, did take a sort of a deepish dive in that. But there's a problem with it. And the problem was this, that there's a thing some of you are familiar with called the replication crisis. Half of these things that professors and research teams come up with about how human behavior works, they can't replicate them when it comes back to doing it again, or the research methodology was flawed. And the other thing was that everybody was blabbing on about behavioral science. And I thought, oh, fuck, a lot of competition there, and it's going to take me for a reason. Then I found this guy at Stanford University called Fogg, who had this thing that was different from behavioral science, but it was a way of understanding human behavior called behavior design. This is B.J. Fogg, the guy that wrote the book. And the amazing thing about that was it was simpler, much more elegant. I could get my head around how all human behavior works. This is, buckle up, this is bonkers. In 2 or 3 sentences, and then apply that in the day job as a creative. That blew me away. So that's why I had to get to know about this. So I learned tiny habits in 2015, which was, and the other sort of paradox about this talk is that I'm going to
webinar button mute.
Everybody, go on audio mute if you can. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, what's paradox?
Yeah.
Over.
They only came back Saturday.
Mike, you're in.
No, yesterday, Wednesday.
If you could like mute.
What's that, Andy?
You're the host of the.
Oh, of course I am. Okay.
If you could
yeah.
Mute folks,
yeah.
great.
Do I go to participants mute or something? Yeah, mute all. Mute all. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. I haven't muted myself, have I, Andy? And, no. Oh, muted Andy now. Fuck it. So, yeah, Andy, put something in text if you need to. I think I've muted you now. So yeah, where I was, the paradox is this. I'm going to tell you about the Tiny Habits book, but I learned about the Tiny Habits method 4 years before the book was published, because I trained with the guy to figure out what this Tiny Habits thing was, and here's the backstory. What it is. So I started my life, I worked in local newspapers, as a young writer, then the agency years, and the advertising decades trained me very efficiently in a lifetime of dubious habits. I was really bad at changing my behavior and really good at getting some shitty behaviors in my life. I worked at the Leith Agency for years, worked on tenants and Schlitz and lots of beer accounts, spent most of my time not just relaxing in pubs, but working in pubs. But paradoxically, I managed to do a fairly good job. I say I worked at a great agency, managed to win some awards, and I was pretty okay at my job. Then fast forward to 2012, 13, something like that, maybe 2014 actually. I started working for the Do Lectures. I moved to Cornwall from Edinburgh. I used to live in Edinburgh for 16 years, moved to Cornwall and started working remotely for the Do Lectures. Brilliant creative director, executive creative boss, David Hyatt, one of the great writers on the planet, great organization. For those of you that don't know the Do Lectures, it's like a bit like TED Talks, but for cool people. And on a farm in Wales, and we get some great speakers. It's one of the world's great events. There's a book publishing company, which is kind of interesting for the somebody's coming in. I have to stop sharing, hit admit, and come back to it. There's a Do Book company, which obviously is a good connection with 5 things. I don't know if any of the Do Books have been on 5 things, and we do online courses and live courses and all that kind of thing. So before I get to the meat and tatters of this, I just want to show you this slide. Who the Do's audience is, I think, is very similar to the audience on this call, and people like us, freelancers, consultants, companies of one, work from homers, founders, startups, and what have you. And we call it a new breed of CEO, and we've got a different definition for the acronym CEO. Our definition is Chief Everything Officer. We've got to frigging everything. And this is the organization. This is probably your organization chart too. And the reason I show this is, as I say, in terms of context. This is why I think it's really important to understand how human behavior works, especially, or starting with, our own human behavior. And that's what Tiny Habits did for me, and that's what the book does for anyone that gets into it. It shows you how all human behavior works, starting with your own. But here's the twofer. You get a twofer for this. But learning Tiny Habits for me, and for anybody that takes a deep dive into the book, not only understands how their own human behavior works, and it gives them the system, the model, the methods to design new habits in their own life really quickly and really easily. Strong, big, full-blown habits. Eventually, you start small. That's why it's called Tiny Habits. But the twofer bit is this. You learn how all human behavior works, like your clients or the users of your product or your app, family, friends, colleagues. All human behavior maps to the teaching that you'll find in this book. And that to me is like, fuck, that's amazing. So now we're up to date. So I'm working to Do Lectures 2015. I'm highly stressed. Remember a lot you stuff, I'm kind of like, I work on projects for the Do. I'm not like a full-time employee. We agree a project, we agree a fee, we agree time things. So I got this brief in 2015. One of the best briefs in my career. It was to take a deep dive and interview people all around the world over Zoom, probably Skype in those days. And it was a 160-page deep dive into the power of side projects, how some of the most powerful, amazing companies in the world started as little side projects. So for example, Slack started as a side project. Slack was a gaming company. So I had to write this book, and it was a fantastic brief. So it was a great project, great brief, great project, lots of time, but there was a problem, a big one. To really nail this, I had to be on my A game. And it was a time in my life I wasn't even on my F game, usual stuff. I was sleeping really badly, drinking too much, eating too much crap, not a happy bunny, needed the work at this time because it was a big, fat, juicy project. But there was no way I was going to knock it out of the park, which was the requirement, unless I changed, unless I finally, after all these decades of having these shitty habits, thought, get serious about this, Mike. So actually, one of the people I was planning to write about in the book, because I knew about him, I'd known about him for a few years, was this professor at Stanford University called B.J. Fogg. And he's the world expert in behavior change. And it was known as his work was called the secret sauce of Silicon Valley. And there's a downside to that in that BJ's work is all about helping people live happier, healthier lives by explaining how human behavior really works. But some in Silicon Valley got it and used it for kind of black ops. And, part of the downside of habits is, it's easy to get bad habits. So, teenagers scrolling through their phones at the back of the classroom, or 2 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that, or older than teenagers doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning and things like that. So, but you know, I latched onto BJ and his work, what he did, his work for good. And essentially, and this is from the book, so we're getting into the 5 things bit now. Essentially, this isn't a 5 thing. This is just a synopsis of what Tiny Habits is all about. The essence of Tiny Habits is this: you take a behavior you want to do. And by the way, I'm going to come back to you when I break this down to the 5 points. Just hold this thought. Take a behavior you want to do. Want to do. This is really important. I'll come back to it in a second. You make it tiny. Make it a baby step. Make it super small. But what I'd emphasize here is initially. Reason for this is, you know, we seem to be hardwired as human beings for behavior change, to actually that go big, go home mentality. You know, set the bar high, and I'll take it. That sort of testosterone-driven kind of aggression in changing behavior. But actually, it's not sustainable. It's really, really hard. And the thing is this: if you can't get yourself to do a little tiny thing, you think you'll consistently do a big thing. So I'll explain more about that in a second. And then find where it fits naturally in your life. You know, if you want to introduce exercise in your life, for some people, it'll be first thing in the morning. For others, it'll be lunchtime. For others, it'll be after work. For others, it'll be tiny little behaviors throughout the day, or whatever it is. So find where it fits naturally in your life, because how it fits in your life might not be the same way it fits in your partner's life, or your best mate's life, or a celebrity's life. And then nurture its growth. Then go to the full fat version. Because getting back to this thing about if you make it tiny, if you make it easy to do, if you can consistently do an easy thing, that easy thing gets easier and easier and easier. And so you can do harder and harder and harder things, but they don't actually seem hard. It's a natural progression. It's kind of like the compound interest of behavior change. So BJ Fogg, I've told you, Stanford, everybody writes about him, one of the gurus you should know. It's got this amazing way of looking at human behavior, which I alluded to earlier, saying in 2 or 3 sentences, you can understand all human behavior, your own, your clients, your customers. And it's called the Fogg behavior model. I'm not going to go take a deep dive into the Fogg behavior model today, but that is the heart of the Tiny Habits book, and it's mind-blowing. So one quick thing. When BJ was sharing his understanding of human behavior, he had a massive class. Everyone wanted to sign up for this class. He had a class about his behavior design model, which Tiny Habits is built on at Stanford. And scores of people and teams joined it. And the brief was build an app for Facebook in the early days of Facebook, letting you put an app on there that you could monetize. And I think it was 6 of the people who did that homework, and he graded them how successful, how many signups they got, and how much money they made. And I think 6 of the people out of the scores of people who did the course ultimately became millionaires out of their homework by applying BJ's stuff, the self-state stuff that I'm going to share part of it with you today. And indeed, one member of his class, not on this course, but one member of his class, a guy called Mike Krieger, who dropped out of BJ's behavior design class at Stanford to start Instagram, built on the stuff I'm going to tell you in the next 5-10 minutes. So I get this brief side project report. I'm in a bad place in my life. I need to change some stuff. So I decided that ironically, the thing I'm writing is called a side project report, and I decided to turn it into a side project. And essentially that is, learn 3 new habits from this BJ Fogg guy. He had an online course. He had a free email online course, which I did. Remember, this is 4 years before the book. But essentially, the book is everything that I did at this time. And I actually started nailing habits and usual stuff: exercise, diet, the things that had been eluding me for years. 1 or 2 things like meditation that I'd wanted to do for decades, I'd never really nailed. And over the 2 or 3 months I was writing the report, the cipher, I nailed pretty much all of them, apart from weight loss, because I love food and drink too much. So that was proof positive to me that I was onto something. So then after that, I actually trained to be a Tiny Habits coach, not initially to coach other people in this amazing way of behavior change, but actually because I wanted to take such a deep dive in it that I got all the juice out of it I could. So I signed up. It wasn't that cheap, actually. I signed up to be trained by BJ from California over Zoom. It was midnight every Tuesday night because it was California time. It was 4 p.m. California time. But my motivation was super high to really get this stuff. And I'd say that was whatever, nearly 10 years ago now. And I've used this stuff every single day. It's without doubt the most important thing I've ever learned in my personal and professional life, and certainly advertising career. So here we go, 5 things. Well, I just think motivation is the winning ticket to get behavior change done. If I could only motivate myself to do this, or if I can only motivate my customers to buy my product or use my app or my service and things like that. We think motivation is really important, but it's probably the 3rd most important thing if you want to change behavior. More importantly, motivation works best when it's intrinsic, when you already want to do the thing, when you're already motivated to do it, or whether your customers or users are already motivated to do it. I'll show you a slide a little later on that will show you how you can use it in your professional life for your business from this point of view. I'll show you how to use everything that I'm going to show you in the 5 things here. I'll show you how you can use them to discover, and it'll take me 30 seconds, who is your customer and who isn't, who's not worth bothering with, who are the tire kickers out there. So motivation is unreliable. So this is still point 1 of the 5 things. Beecher's got a maxim: help people do what they already want to do, okay? For example, when Google started, whenever it was 1997, 99 or whatever, they started with 1 single white page on the internet. There was no AdWords, no Gmail, no self-driving cars, no YouTube, no AdWords, none of that. Just a single page with a search box in it. At the time, there were 17 search engines already out there: Inktomi, Alta Vista. I think Yahoo were probably early on the scene. There were loads of search engines out there. Millions and millions of people already wanted to search the internet to find things. So all Google did was they made it easier to do. They didn't motivate people. They knew there were millions of people already motivated out there who wanted a better way. So help people do it. So how does this map to habits? We're still on point 1. Help yourself do what you already want to do. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's say I want to exercise more or lose weight or whatever it is, or a person wants to exercise more and lose weight. We'll use me as an example. If my missus said to me, right, you want to exercise more, you want to lose some weight, that's great. There's a line dancing class in the village hall on Wednesday night. Let's go. That'll get you some exercise. That'll help you lose weight. That's right. I'm going to do that. There is no way I'm ever going to go to a line dancing class in the village hall on a Wednesday night. No way. So I have zero motivation to do it. It's highly unlikely to become an habitual behavior for me. Or my best mate says, oh, Mike, you want to lose some weight and exercise? I got a CrossFit box at 5 a.m. every morning. It's fantastic. It's changed my life. Fuck off. I am not doing it. I'm not going to CrossFit at 5 o'clock in the morning. But if somebody says, hey, Mike, there's a fantastic bike trail, literally 5 minutes down the hill from where you live. It goes for 17 miles. You could ride your bike on the flat with no traffic for an hour every day if you want to. Yes, please. Where do I sign? I'm highly motivated to do that. So one of the first things you want to look at, and this is the thing you'll learn from the book, is match yourself to the behavior that you want to do, so that motivation hasn't to be externally and hasn't to be applied externally. You want to do the thing. And that's what you'll find with most of the apps that you use on the phone. You already want to look on Instagram. You already want to see what people have been saying on LinkedIn about you. LinkedIn didn't have to motivate me to use it 17 times a day. 2, help people feel successful. This is, and obviously, this is still, hang on, someone's come in the room. I am okay. Yeah, help people feel successful. People, when they search on Google, feel kind of successful if they get the results. I'll give you another example. Uber didn't invent the idea of paying a driver to drive you from a pub in one side of Edinburgh to the other side of Edinburgh on a Friday night. Taxis have been around forever. There are millions of people around the world already motivated to use taxis. All Uber did was they made it easier to do. Amazing app, little drawing, a little animation of the taxi coming across a map to you. You don't have to even pay any money. It feels really great. You say, hey, we're 2 minutes out, we can have a swift off. You feel successful using these things. Same thing in all behavior change. If you're trying to design habits in your life, find a way to feel successful. The reason for that is People change best by feeling good, not feeling bad. You will change better and quicker if you feel good while you're doing it. Remember, it's something you want to do. Then if you give yourself a hard time thinking, oh shit, I said I go to the gym 4 times a week for an hour and a half and I'm not doing it. Set the bar low and you can grow it later. Same thing, emotions create habits. We're still on point 2 here about, this whole thing about, you've got motivation, help people do what they already want to do, but how you feel when you're doing it, that the positive emotions. So positive emotions, we know that if we feel good do something, then we have this positive emotion, and that's why people are addicted to apps and like Instagram. People have a positive emotion when when there's lots of likes for their shot or there's some great comments. This is how social media works. It releases dopamine, and dopamine is what gives us that pleasurable emotion. That's the science of it. Third thing, simplicity changes behavior. Google made it simpler to search. Uber made it simpler to get a cab. Airbnb made it simpler that you're going to rent a house, stay in someone's home in a strange city, and they're not likely to be serial killers. Simplicity changes behavior, not motivation. Motivation's part of it. But if you can make something easy to do and do it consistently, the thing's much more likely to happen. So make it easy to do. Information action fallacy. This is a fantastic take from the book. We get the impression that wait for time. Okay, 10 minutes to go. We get the impression that and there'll be some Q&A at the end if you want it. We get the impression that if only I had the information, I'll change the behavior. I worked at the Leaf Agency on health education for Scotland for years. And we did a lot of behavior change campaigns. This is before I understood behavior design. We did a lot of behavior change campaigns about, quit smoking or drink less or eat better or exercise more and things like that. And a lot of those were information led. If we gave the people information, it was great information, scientifically validated information. But I'm not sure if in those days, I'm saying now, I'm not sure if we helped them change their behavior. As I said earlier, I've been trying to meditate for decades, and friends would come to my house years ago, and I'd have every book on meditation. I'd have more books on meditation than Amazon. I could have written a book on meditation. I knew so much about it. I'd be sat in bed at night before I went to sleep, or first thing in the morning when I went, reading a book on meditation, not meditating, reading a book on meditation, thinking the book had some magical powers. Books are wonderful starting points, but it's what you do with the information. So action does not automatically come from knowing the stuff. You've got to have a systematic way then of applying it in your life. And that's really the ethos of the Tiny Habits book. I won't go in, that's too long for now. And finally, I alluded to behavior matching. Match yourself to a behavior that you want to do and that you can do. So if you want to do it, that's motivation. If you can do it, you have the ability. You got the time to do it, or if it costs money or whatever. Oh, Mark Gorman, usual great timing. Hi, Mark. Okay. So behavior matching. So behavior matching is this. So let's say I want to reduce my stress. If we were to put in chat now, I'm not suggesting, if we were to put in chat now a way you could help reduce your stress, or a way you could help a friend reduce it, we'd probably come up with 20, 30, 40, 50 ways to, Pilates, get a therapist, get a pet, go to bed earlier, stop doing cocaine, bloody stop eating kebabs at night. Whatever it is, we can think of loads of ways, loads of different behaviors that will reduce stress. So that's what behavior matching is. A good behavior match says, look, do I want to do it intrinsically? Have I got the ability to do it? And will it have the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time? Matching behaviors. And this is true of your clients. What behavior do you want your clients to do? And remember the simplicity, easy thing to do. I used to send 17 paragraph emails to clients on new business pitches, trying to get the pitch with everything in it. Now, if I'm reaching out to someone, all I want is a reply to the email. It's a few lines. All I want is a reply. Because if I can't get them to reply just to a simple email, I'm never going to go into sign up to things. So think of the big behavior as a sequence of behaviors. Think of it as dominoes, from a tiny domino to a big one. That's the best way to look at building a behavior. So wrapping up, key takeaways. Help yourself do what you already want to do. Figure out, hey, what is it I want to do? Do I want to start cycling, swimming more? Do I want to take up line dancing? Do I want to take up meditation? Do I want to get a breath coach? Do I want to change? Whatever it is, it's your behavior, so it's your call. So what do I already want to do? Make it easy to do. That's the ability thing. You know, have I got the time? Have I got the money? Is it going to be mental effort, physical effort? Is it asking me to break a routine? Make it easy to do. And the other thing about making it easy to do, maybe more for your clients and users, if you make something easy for your client or user to do, they love you for it. Or your kids. I'll give you a very, very quick example, and then we'll go to some Q&A. There was a Tiny Habits coach, had two young boys, they were 6 and 8. They shared a bedroom. And the bedroom was always a bomb site. There were always floors all over the place, you know, dirty washing all over the place, and toys all over the room. And she thought, this is crazy. I'm a Tiny Habits coach, and I can't get my sons to keep their bedroom tidy. How can I influence their behavior? Okay, so I need to find something that they're already motivated to do, and that they have the ability to do that's easy to do. And I want them to feel good, an emotional high when they do it. So she had this brilliant idea. She had 2 baskets already in the room, one for toys and one for dirty washing. And the kids never put the stuff in. So she went on Amazon and she bought 2 $10, I think she was in South Africa, something, $10 basketball rings, indoor basketball rings about that big. No net on, just the ring. And she put a ring over the open dirty washing basket and a ring over the toy basket. And at 7 o'clock every night before bath time or bedtime or whatever the hell it was for the boys, she said, right, boys, 5 minutes, games time, competition time, motivation. They weren't motivated to tidy their room, but they were motivated to compete with each other as brothers. Games time, boys. Okay, what's the game? Ability, she'd opened the baskets and she put the rings were screwed to the wall, the basketball rings. Ability, so they could do it. Boys, who can get the most baskets? So the boys then threw the toys and threw the dirty underwear and t-shirts and all that, threw the hoops into the baskets. End of problem, untidy bedroom. The boys actually wanted to do the thing every night. So she tapped into this intrinsic motivation. So she helped them do what they already wanted to do. She made it easy to do. And boy, well, at least one of them felt successful every night. And that's what behavior matching is. And that's essentially the essence of the Tiny Habits book. So I'm going to jump to Q&A now. Oh yeah, I just said I promised. Go for it, Andy.
It's a quick round of applause for Mike, man.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap up. I've got 1 minute, Andy, then I'll go to Q&A. Is that okay?
Oh, sorry, yep. Okay,
no, you're fine. So the core of the book is a thing called the behavior model. This looks very dry and academic here, I guess, to a degree. It changed my life as a creative. It changed my life as a business person. It changed my personal life. It is mind-blowing. All successful behaviors happen over this action. And just, in fact, yeah, so after the, sorry, so I learned the book came out and it had everything in it that I've explained to you that I already knew. In fact, the coaches helped BJ in a very small way to write the book. Once the book had come out, I went to California and changed with BJ in this whole behavior model thing, the behavior design thing, because I knew that was going to be the secret sauce, as it was for Silicon Valley, for my little business based in Cornwall, and it has been, and based on this model. So that's pretty much it, and that's the thing. All successful brands, all successful companies, and crucially, all successful human beings operate in this area. They have the right level of motivation and they make stuff easy to do for themselves and for the customers and users and clients and colleagues. So that's Tiny Habits, and I'm going to stop sharing and thank you for your patience. And if there's any Q&A, Andy, I don't know if there's any Q&A in
there's nothing in the channel just now.
So if anybody else
got so much,
come off mute and give us that. Oh, one thing, by the way, I got that side project report is out of print now. But I've got PDFs of it. If anyone wants it, that'd be interesting. I'm recording this anyway, so people don't need to see the deck, do they, Andy? Because this will be hosted on YouTube or something. Yeah. If anybody's got any questions or anything needs clarifying, I'll be happy to answer them.
Got a quick one, Mike. Mention meditation. Yeah, I always struggle I really want to build a meditation habit. Let's say got 5 minutes. What can I do to start building a meditation habit using the techniques presented in Tiny Habits?
First thing, don't 5 minutes is too long to build a habit. To start with initially, far too long. I'd take 1 minute to explain to you what I did after years of failing. So I had a tiny habit. And also one way, I think this would be really, hopefully useful to everyone on the call. If you're designing a habit and it's not kind of working out, you know, like you think, oh God, I said I go to the gym 3 times a week, or I said I start meditating and I've got 5 minutes, or whatever it is. If you design it and it's not working out, don't beat yourself up. Remember, people change best by fit. Don't beat yourself up. Oh, fucking hell, I'll never nail this. I'm shit at this. No, it's not a me issue. It's not a Mike issue. It's not an Andy issue. It's a design issue. Just redesign it. So I give you a case, or evolve the design, iterate the design over time. So me, this is how I nailed habits after failing 4 decades. God's own truth. So I've been trying to meditate for years. And, you know, as I said, I lived in Edinburgh 16, 17 years. And actually, I don't know if you ever remember, I forget the name of it. There used to be a really cool furniture shop down Howe Street on the left-hand side. And every year at the festival, they used to have a chair exhibition. Anyway, I bought, it was quite pricey, but I bought a chair from there, this really cool designer chair, just to meditate in, right? And for about, I'm not sure, for about 12 years afterwards, it was just a clothes horse in the bedroom. In-house, so that's it. Thank you, Kareem. So in-house. It was a clothes horse in the bedroom for about 12 years. It's all right. I thought, so I learned tiny habits. I know this. So anyway, my tiny habit was this. So one of the things about tiny habits is if you want to grow a new habit, append it to an existing habit. And that acts as a prompt. That's the reminder. That's like the little, that's the metaphor. This is that the simile is, that's like a little red notification you get on your phone. It's that trigger to do something. And I had the same trigger here. So forever, my whole married life, I've been up early in the morning to make a cup of tea for me and take the missus a cup of tea up. So that's the existing habit. So each morning I come downstairs and my habit was this. After I come downstairs in the morning, I will put my meditation chair out where I can see it, right? That was the habit, Andy. That was it. That was how I started a meditation habit. And I did that for 2 or 3 days. I'd come down, put the chair out. And then I'd go and make the tea, take the tea. And after about 3 or 4 days, I thought, for 3 or 4 days, I was doing it consistently, reliably. I'd create a new habit, albeit just putting the chair out. Redesign, iterate. So 3 or 4 days in, I said, okay, new habit. After I put my chair out in the morning, I told my wife it was going to take some time with tea in the morning. After I put my chair out in the morning, I will sit in it for 30 seconds. I did that for a few days. That became a new habit. And this really interesting thing happened. So that's about a week or so. And then one day I'm sitting there for 30 seconds and I just thought, actually, this is quite, don't forget, I knew how to meditate. I'd read every book that Amazon had written. I knew how to follow my breathing. I knew what to do with intrusive thoughts. I knew what to do about body scans. And so all of a sudden I think, oh shit, it's all coming together. And here's the interesting thing. In the second week, I realized something. Oh, this feels really good. It felt good. So I was there for 3 minutes. And then I was there over a month. I'd build and build and build. And some days I'd just do 30 seconds because I'd be rushing. But over time, I got up to 10, 15, 20 minutes. And that became a rock solid, reliable habit from there on in. So it took me about a month. So believe in baby steps and iterate and grow over time without being too hard on yourself, saying, no, I must, all this shit about, and I hate the, I should calm down a little bit. A lot of people love the Atomic Habits book by James Clear, and I've read it myself, and I know some people who've had enormous results out of it, genuinely. Great results. Remember, it's behavior matching again, it's fine. But I know a lot of people who say to me, I've got a James Clear, it's a fantastic book, it's great. And I ask them 2 simple questions. I do 1 question. Okay. What habit or habits did it reliably change in your life that actually are still fixed now? And it goes really quiet. Remember information action fallacy? People think, oh, I've got the book and it'll come eventually. So I'm slightly critical, but not wholly critical, because as I say, I'm a true believer in behavior matching. And if any book about habits, Tiny Habits is the only gold standard one that's worked for me, and I've read them all. If any book about habits has worked for you, please ignore me and go for it, because that's a really good match for you, and I applaud you. So there's more than one way, there's more than one book can solve it for you, but there's only one way to do it, and that's by behavior change, not information action fallacy.
Mike, how do you feel about, we're already 1 minute over time.
Okay.
Let's go for
I'm good
another.
for time. I don't want to bore people. Do you know what? I said before, a friend of mine in Edinburgh once said to me, Mike, you've got to calm down a bit. And I never have. He said, I feel I've just been exposed to a mic storm.
Don't calm down. It's totally fine.
I'll have a lie down.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
So there's just like, let's do quick fire. Can you do quick fire? Quick fire
I'll
responses.
try.
Give you 40 seconds to
go for it. Yeah.
Stephen, you might have to help me out here a little bit. But Stephen's question: how does it work over time if you get the amazing state of nailing all the things you listed?
Yeah. Okay. Well, over time, I hope I'm answering this in the spirit of your question, Stephen. Here's what I found. So as I said before, I've realized that if I can do a small thing consistently, that small thing will get easier and easier and easier. And a few things improve over that time. One is my confidence at being able to do. So let's say it was learning a language. I actually haven't used Tiny House to learn. Let's say it's learning a language. I'm not going to try and learn the whole of Italian or French or Spanish in a day or a month, but I might on one day try and learn one phrase or whatever. And then after a week, I might have that phrase nailed or whatever. Over time, as the thing, we don't learn to drive a car in a week, or how to swim, or learn a language, or how to use Python, or how to bloody, be the world's greatest blogger. Everything worthwhile happens over time, but you can have some quick, small wins anytime you like. And a win is a win. And you can grow that win. So your confidence grows, your ability, remember usability in the talk, your ability to do the thing grows. So your propensity and your ability to do harder things grows without it having to seem to be harder. Easy things stay easier and harder things get easier to do. So if you match yourself well to the behavior that you want to do, it kind of grows naturally. It's a little bit like if you're growing a plant, if you want to nurture a little plant, if you plant it in the right part of your garden where it gets the right sun and rain and stuff like that, it'll grow naturally if you get those initial steps right. The right plant in the right spot. So the right habit in the right part of your day, consistently, baby steps consistently applied will grow naturally. Just like I said about my meditation habit. I wasn't trying to meditate for 20 minutes from the get-go. It was like that. If you remind me, Andy, I'll send a link. There's a fantastic, it's nothing to do with Tiny Habits. Someone did this fantastic film of someone with a line of dominoes. The biggest dominoes was like the side of a garage, and the tiniest one was the size of a fingernail. And that first one started a chain of it. It's the starting and staying with it, not the scale of it. The scale will come because when we're enjoying something, remember, people feel good people change best by feeling. When you're feeling good about it, you want to do more of it. And a weird thing about the habits thing with me, or the meditation thing was me. Let's say I had an early train or plane or something, I couldn't do my meditation.
Meet GoDaddy Aero, our AI powered.
It got to the stage of, it seemed weird not to do the thing that had eluded me for decades. I hope that was somewhere appropriate. Was it Stephen who asked that question, Andy?
Yes, it was me. It was great. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, mate.
There's quite a few
Andy,
questions.
any more questions?
Sophie, you've asked about tips on procrastination. Don't know if you want to expand a little bit. So the question specifically is, do you have any tips on procrastination, aka getting things done? I would, for example, start tidying up if I was sitting in the meditation chair.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, Sophie, the procrastination thing, it's what we also from. I think the first thing is, if I was, let's say thought experiment, you can look inside and think, oh shit, and I'm procrastinating things like that. First thing would be, what's wrong with procrastination? From this point of view, not being hard on myself and saying, actually, sometimes there's a good reason. Let's say it's, I've got a chance of working with a client and I've submitted a tender for a proposal or something that's come back and they're also great. And something instinctive, I just feel something's not right and it's making me procrastinate. I think it's a really good, procrastination is wired into us as human beings psychologically to help us. So sometimes it can help us. But if it's like I've said, okay, I must get my VAT returns done because I'm going to be late and I'm procrastinating. Well, then I would break it down and say, so I can't do anything about the day when I'm really suffering and thinking, shit, I'm hating doing these, I'm hating doing these receipts, I'm hating doing this VAT thing. And even though I'm using free agent, I'm still hating it, okay? So I'm doing all this stuff. I think, all right, what can I learn from that? Right, that's not going to happen the next quarter, okay. So how can I design a habit so it doesn't happen next quarter? Okay, right. I'm going to get a box, and instead of my receipts being in carrier bags and pockets all over the place, I think, all I'm going to do is make sure all the receipts are in one place. That's the only thing I'm going to, that's just like putting the chair out to meditate without meditating. What's the one step, the one baby step, the first thing? Put the receipts and things. And design a way sequentially where you break down the thing that you're procrastinating over into tiny discrete steps, if you like, the different sizes of dominoes, and take it from there. And it's and then what? Okay, well, actually, you know what? When I finish work every Friday night, I really love going to the fridge and getting a beer. Okay, I can do that, but I've actually got to file 10 invoices on free agent, or however I do it, before I have the beer. That's called, I think that's called hedonic calculus or something like that. It doesn't matter what the hell it's called. I'd break it down into baby steps, and I'd nail the baby steps, and I'd feel good when I do it. So I'd turn it to a sequence of behaviors when I'm procrastinating. So it's either, actually, it's all, fuck it, Oh, I'd say, actually, you know what? It might be the opposite. It might be like saying, oh God, I've got to do my things, but I think I'll have a beer. Well, procrastinate on having the beer, Mike. Wait half an hour and do the other thing. Then you can have the beer. Again, it's behavior matching. We're all different in terms of what triggers us and what kind of soothes us. And so it's just figuring out what works. There isn't a one size fits all to this, but there is a one size fits all to the model and the system. And it's you're designing a solution that's a really good match for you. And the final thing I would say about it, Sophie, is it kind of depends on the thing that you are procrastinating on. If it's something that must be done, sometimes you just have to say, I just have to do this. Sometimes you just have to put the big boy pants and the big and just do it. So I know this sounds a bit of a cop out, but I think it is a horses for courses. You've got to say, right, what's the procrastination brief here? What's the outcome? What do I want to do? And then break it down into steps, really. I don't know if that's remotely like a satisfactory answer.
No, it is. It is. Thank you. I've made some notes. I'm going to try some of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking. Andy, we got any more?
Oh, I'm going to finish up there. Unfortunately, that was. I think there are a couple, but what might be best? I'm sure you'd be open to questions. Connect with Mike on.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
I'll
answer. Yeah.
And Mike, you're running Tiny Habits course at some point in the near future.
I was saying that I'd learned to be a Tiny Habits coach, but it kind of fell by the wayside because I've been doing so much stuff with the do watches and everything. But I'm going to start doing. I'm doing more courses on that because, as I say, I specialised in it for creative people, but I think everybody's creative, aren't they, in some shape or form?
Yeah. So, best place to get in touch with you, LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn or Mike at thedolectures.co.uk. In fact, Andy, we'll send out a thank you email to people and put a couple of links in, because then anybody, let me know if you want a copy of that side project report or whatever.
Ace.
Yeah, presumably you send an email out with a link to the video anyway on YouTube.
I think so. In all
Consummate
honesty,
professional.
I'm using Luma for the first time, and I'm not quite sure of the capabilities that has of follow-up emails, but I'll check it out.
Okay. Well, and all I would say is thank you so much, everyone, for sharing that. I'm sorry we've kind of overrun a little bit, but as I say, if you think of anything that I haven't covered, give me a shout. I'll happily answer you.
Oh, thanks so much, Mike, for that.
Okay.
That was fantastic, and thanks everyone for joining.